Part 51. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 501. Let's take action together. Now that the matter has come to this, these people have nothing to be afraid of, and they rush towards Zhao's Hiruo together. Zhao's Hiruo was not afraid, her whole body exuded a cold aura, and her lotus sword kept dancing. The terrifying qi gathered around her, like a flowing stream. Qinglian sword technique. Zhao's Hiruo shouted loudly, and lotus flowers slowly took shape and bloomed in the Genkai stream. When the flowers were in full bloom, Zhao's Hiruo waved his sword, and lotus flowers suddenly shot out. This is Zhao's Hiruo's strongest method. She originally planned to use it to deal with opponents of the same level as Fozawuji and Taoist Wang Yet. But at this moment, Mr. Su was dying, and she was so angry that she directly activated the Qinglian sword technique. Puff! 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 Several contestants on the ring were hit by lotus flowers without any ability to fight back. In an instant, these people were lying on the ring, and everyone spurted out a large pool of blood. When they saw Zhao's Hiruo going berserk, they were so frightened that they didn't even dare to wipe away the blood. They fled down the ring in dejection and took the initiative to admit defeat. Master Su. At this moment, Zhao's Hiruo returned to Su Yang, her mood was restored, and her eyes were different from before. At this moment, Zhao's Hiruo's eyes were filled with self-blame and guilt, as well as a complicated look that she couldn't describe. Mrs. Hiruo, the way you held the sword just now was so beautiful. While Su Yang was talking, Gilo spat out another mouthful of blood and continued in a far-fetched way, since the first time I saw you, I have even thought about what to name the child. I dream that one day I can go to Kangshan Mountain and Erhai Lake with you, watch the misty rain in the south of the Yangtze River together, and ride horses and herd on the grasslands outside the Great Wall together. It's a pity that I never have a chance again, Mrs. Hiruo. Su Yang was about to say something, but at this moment, the philanthropist on the high seat became too angry. You are full of filth, who are you? How could my disciple do these things with you? Charity Master Tai ordered in a cold voice, Hiruo, quickly, kill him, do it immediately. Zhao's Hiruo always carried out her master's orders without thinking. But this time, seeing Su Yang dying because of saving himself, Zhao's Hiruo couldn't take action at all. She took a step back, raised her head to look at Master Charity, and begged, Master, Mr. Su is seriously injured and his life is not long, please let him go. No. Charity Master Tai gritted his teeth and said, this person speaks dirty words, dares to molest you, and even contradicts Master, you must kill him with your own hands. Zhao's Hiruo hesitated and fell into a painful struggle, not knowing what to do. Hiruo, I ordered you to kill him, do you want to disobey the master's order? Charity Master Tai pressed. Yes. Seeing that her master was angry, Zhao's Hiruo immediately raised her lotus sword and pointed it at Su Yang. Her expression was very complicated, Master Su, I don't want to kill you, but Master Su, I'm sorry. Zhao's Hiruo thrust out his sword, and Ali's eyes immediately turned cold. But the next moment, Zhao's Hiruo's sword stopped midway. Immediately afterwards, she put down her lotus sword, fell to her knees on the ground, and begged with tears streaming down her face, Master, I can't do it. Master Su is kind and affectionate to me. I can't kill him. Zhao's Hiruo then said, Master, any order you give me, my disciple will do his best to complete it, but this time, please let me make my own choice, please. Hiruo, you. Seeing this, Master Charity was furious at first, but then he sighed deeply and said, you are finally moved, but I never expected that you would treat a stranger who has met for less than half an hour. Emotional. Master, some things cannot be controlled by time. 10,000 years are often better than 10,000 years. Zhao's hero turned back, glanced at Su Yang who was about to die, and smiled. I didn't believe in love at first sight before, and I didn't even know what it felt like to like someone, but now, I suddenly understand. Master, I won this match for you. Tomorrow is the resurrection match, and the day after tomorrow is the second round of the 100 sex martial arts competition. Zhao's hero stood up and said seriously, next, I will take Mr. Su with him to spend the last moments of his life. After burying Mr. Su, I will devote myself to the next competition and strive to win glory for Ime. No need. You don't have to accompany him. The philanthropist glanced at Su Yang with gritted teeth and said coldly, Su Yang is alive and well. His injuries are fake. Hero, you have been deceived. What? It's impossible, this is impossible. When Zhao's hero heard this, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and looked at Su Yang lying on the ground with a blank look on her face. At this time, Su Yang slowly stood up from the ground, touched the bridge of his nose, and said with a wry smile, Mrs. Hero, your master is right, I am indeed not injured. Su Yang pretended to be injured just to pull off a bitter trick and deceive the little girl Zhao's hero. But he never expected that Zhao's hero would actually take it seriously and say what he said above. Now it was Su Yang's turn to be at a loss, realizing that he had overplayed his hand and it would not end well. Master Su. Seeing that Su Yang's breath was like the sea and he didn't look injured at all, Zhao's hero's first reaction was not to be angry because he had been deceived. She breathed a sigh of relief, a smile appeared on her beautiful face, and her whole body felt relieved. Mrs. Hero, I'm sorry, I lied to you, Su Yang said awkwardly. Don't say this, just be fine. Zhao's Hiru's face turned red. She didn't care that Su Yang was acting to deceive her. Instead, she took off the sword from the top of the tower and handed it to Su Yang. I had a chance to kill you, but I didn't do it to you. You won the previous bet, I am willing to admit defeat, this accessory is yours. Mrs. Hero. Su Yang took the top of the tower and put it directly into the storage ring, and then said guiltily, what happened today is because I went too far, so just think that I owe you a favor. If one day you encounter trouble, I will clear all obstacles for you. Even if the sky falls, I will hold up a bright light for you. After saying that, Su Yang strode off the ring and voluntarily gave up and surrendered. His goal is to be ranked first in the 100 sex martial arts competition, but there is still a resurrection match to play. He had just deceived Zhao's hero, and Su Yang didn't want to step on this innocent and silly girl to advance to the next round. Besides, the top of the tower has been obtained, and today's harvest has been huge. But before Su Yang left, Ximen Fenjian on the high seat said with an unkind expression. Remnants of the Su family, stop. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 502. Uh-huh. 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 Hearing the words remnants of the Su family, everyone's eyes fell on Su Yang, their eyes filled with shock. The remnants of the Su family. This identity is familiar to everyone. More than 100 years ago, Su Wuzi dominated the world and left a deep impression on countless people. Even after more than 100 years, the antique-level figure still cannot forget it. Not only that, but today's young talents are also full of interest in Su Wuzi's past, so they know something about it. Let me ask you, among the good men in the ancient martial arts world, who doesn't want to become a big shot like Su Wuji who looks down upon the world? What young girl in love doesn't want to marry an invincible master like Su Wuzi? Therefore, when they heard that there were remnants of the Su family at the scene, everyone held their breath and were extremely shocked. The speaker is Ximen Fenjian, the ancestor of the Ximen family. He is looking at Su Yang. Could it be that Su Yang is a descendant of Su Wuzi? Su Wuji, Su Yang, wow, no wonder Su Yang is so arrogant. Yesterday in Chunguang Tower, he dared to sleep with Lan Miaoi, and today he openly flirted with Zhao's Hiruo, and he has already obtained Qian Shangxiu, the leader of Zhifeng Mountain. It turns out that he has such a background so big. Before, I thought he was from one of the 10 ancient tribes in China, but I didn't expect that he was not from an ancient tribe. The descendant of Suwuji, his identity is no worse than that of the ancient clan, but he is so courageous. Back then, so many famous mountain sects joined forces to destroy the Su family in Kunlun. How could he have the courage to participate in the 100 sects martial arts competition without fear of his identity being exposed? Will the big figures from the major sects eradicate it? What does this mean? Have you forgotten that there is a protector behind Su Yang who looks like a land warrior god to protect him from worries? Yes, about 20 years ago, there was a remnant of the Su family who took the last land martial god of the Su family to participate in the 100 sects martial arts competition that year. No one from the major sects dared to take action. I heard that the land martial god of the Su family has extraordinary skills. If he attacks with all his strength, he can compete with the peak combat power of the great forces in the land of Zen, between mountains and seas, and deep in the clouds and mists. That's why no one dares to do it. Go ahead and let the remnant of the Su family leave calmly, it seems that Su Yang will follow suit. For a time, everyone was convinced of Su Yang's identity and started talking about it. On the high seat, Qian Shangxiu's eyes were full of worry. Unexpectedly, Ximen Fenjiun saw through Su Yang's identity. Master Ximen, what are the remnants of the Su family? Have you made a mistake? Qian Shangxiu said calmly. Won't. Ximen Fenjiun smiled softly and said, Qian Alliance leader, you don't have to confuse things. I will definitely not mistake Su Yang's identity. Is it? Seeing that Ximen Fenjiun was so sure, Qian Shangxiu said with an unkind expression, Master Ximen, Su Yang is my husband-in-law. I hope you will think twice before doing anything. Our Zhifeng Mountain is not inferior to your Ximen family. My grandfather has been there for thousands of years. We are on our way, and we will surely arrive at Wudane Mountain soon. Qian Alliance leader, are you threatening me? Ximen Fenjiun did not get angry, but showed a smile. Qian Shangxiu met Ximen Fenjiun's gaze and said in a neither humble nor arrogant tone, you can think so. He. Qian Alliance leader, I know your strength. You carry the lifeblood of the entire Zhifeng Mountain on your back. In a short period of time, you can reach the realm of land warriors. You are indeed very strong. Does he want his life? Even with the protection of the land martial gods, those big sects can kill him at a certain price. Su Yang, tell me honestly, who are you, Suwuji? At the end of the sentence, Ximen Fenjiun's eyes fell on Su Yang again. The Suwuzi you are so taboo about is my great-grandfather, and I am a descendant of the Su family. Ximen Fenjiun sneered, Qian Shangxiu, although you are the leader of the Zhifeng Alliance, you are still junior. In my eyes, you are still a junior. You have no say here, and it is not your turn to make decisions in Zhifeng Mountain. The old poison deep in the clouds and mist did not appear today. Yes. Everyone. He. As for the other forces involved in the destruction of the Su family, they did not dare to come forward rashly, for fear of angering the last land martial god of the Su family and being destroyed. I swear, everyone whose hands are stained with the blood of the Su family will count as one. I want you to pay with your blood. Ximen Fenjiun chuckled and said, do you think the other 8 peaks will choose to compete with our Ximen family for your father-in-law? At that time, 1/3 of the forces in the ancient martial arts world set foot in Kunlun Mountain, including many super sects, such as Deep in the Clouds, Qingcheng Mountain, Huashan, and the Ximen family, which has become famous in recent years. Su Yang's tone was too loud. Come on, you actually dare to say it in public and ask them to pay for it with blood. As soon as these words came out, the scene exploded and everyone started talking. But these people showed hesitation, and even if Ximan Fengyun encouraged them, they did not express their stance. Ximan Fengyun showed a cold smile and stared at Su Yang, as if he would take action at the next moment. But arrogant. The remnants of the Su family more than 20 years ago would not dare to speak arrogantly. Su Yang had already stopped, met Ximan Fengyun's gaze, and said calmly, "Originally, I had no intention of concealing my identity. Now that you have revealed it, there is no harm in telling you. I admit it, Su Yang is indeed a descendant of the Su family." Wow! Ali nodded respectfully, with killing intent in his eyes. Ali, who was under the ring, had been waiting for a long time and said respectfully, "Master, do you want to kill Ximan Fengyun?" "You can give it a try," Qian Shangxiu said coldly, his aura not lacking in Ximan Fengyun. "As far as I know, every major decision in Jufeng Mountain requires a vote. As I said before, you can kill him within 3 moves." Ali was confident, his tone full of disdain for Ximan Fengyun. When Su Yang spoke, he looked around the crowd and said coldly, "Today I came to Wudane Mountain to participate in the 100 Sects martial arts competition. The main purpose is to tell the famous mountain sects who participated in the destruction of the Kunlun Su family. I, Su Yang, here you go, tremble." Hearing this, Ximan Fengyun smiled softly and said, "You have all heard that Su Yang is arrogant and full of anger towards everyone. You cannot let him alone. Since you are unwilling to stand up, then I will take action myself to solve this hidden danger in Su Yang." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "That's good. If he takes action against me, don't show mercy and kill the chicken to scare the monkeys." "Ali, how confident are you?" Su Yang asked in a voice message. Ximan Fengyun smiled playfully, "But you can't stop me yet." However, the old antiques from Huashan, King Qinchin and other big forces arrived and were sitting on the high seats. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 503. On site. When everyone saw that Ximan Fengyun was about to take action, they suddenly became excited. Haha, there's something good to watch. In recent decades, Ximan Fengyun has never exposed his strength. He must have set foot on the land of martial arts. Behind the Su family, there is also a terrestrial martial god. Today, Sansheng is lucky enough to see a showdown between masters of the terrestrial martial god realm. The little girl who did it in Chunguang Tower is right under the ring. It's so exciting. The melon eaters were waiting to watch the show, but the Mingshan sect involved was a little nervous. They couldn't figure out why the remnants of the Su family were so arrogant. Could it be that the Su family had other means? Otherwise, how could they dare to expose their identities in such a big way and threaten to pay for their debts with blood? This person. At this moment, Ximan Fengyun had noticed Ali's gaze, and his brows instantly furrowed. Today's Ari, because he is a 9-tailed dark fox, is at the peak of his abilities as soon as he enters the foundation building. If there are no cultivators in the pill-forming stage, no one can be her opponent. When a cultivator enters the elixir-forming stage, he will be troubled by unknown things, which will greatly reduce his combat effectiveness, or he may embark on the ancient path of the starry sky. In short, on the current earth, there is no one above Ari, but there are all sentient beings below. Ximan Fengyun is also a cultivator. But at the beginning, Ximan Fengyun was an ancient warrior, and under the guidance of Suwuji, he had already entered the realm of land warriors. Back then, when Suwuji was at his peak, he was dominating the world, and there were a total of 11 land martial gods in the Kunlun Su family. Ximan Fengyun is one of them, and he is Suwuji's most trusted subordinate. Suwuji even passed on all the cultivation techniques he had acquired to Ximan Fengyun. To be precise, Ximan Fengyun was Suwuji's disciple, his only disciple. because Suwaji only passed down the cultivation techniques to Ximen Fenjiun. But Ximen Fenjiun did not choose to practice, he was reluctant to let go of the vast and majestic qi. But about 50 years ago, he realized that the ancient martial arts system could not go any further. Then, Ximen Fenjiun could not go out in seclusion and did not allow anyone to disturb him. After that, he destroyed his true energy and changed his cultivation. Su Shenbing mentioned before that there are hundreds of thousands of energy stones collected in Kunlun Mountain. Therefore, Ximen Fenjiun is not short of spiritual energy. It has lasted for 50 years and is now at the peak of foundation building. With his talent, if it weren't for the restrictions of heaven, he would have already entered the realm of pill formation. Ximen Fenjiun knew that he could not resist the unknown, and he did not want to leave the earth and go to an unknown place, so he suppressed his realm and stopped making breakthroughs. The pinnacle of foundation building is the realm of Ximen Fenjiun. As soon as he enters the foundation building, he can compete with the land martial god. With Ximen Fenjiun's strength, he can almost sweep the land martial god. Therefore, he did not take the Su family's remaining heritage to heart and planned to take down Su Yang. But now, feeling Ali's gaze, Ximen Fenjiun suddenly felt a sense of fear in his heart. Ximen Fenjiun, I reminded you not to embarrass Su Yang, otherwise you will be the enemy of Jufeng Mountain. At this time, Qian Shangxiu saw that Ximen Fenjiun was about to take action, so he threatened again. Haha, I also said, you can't stop me, Ximen Fenjiun sneered. Then add me. At this moment, Zhang Tianli, the burly old man next to him, stood up, put the big animal skin drum on his shoulders, and said with a bad expression. Zhang Tianli, what's wrong with you? Ximen Fenjiun frowned. Snort. Zhang Tianli snorted coldly, and then said, the 100 sex martial arts competition is going on. I said, if you disturb the situation, I will be rude to you. You're not polite to me. Ximen Fenjiun sneered, it's a joke. Do you think I have ever taken you seriously? Ximen Fenjiun. Ximen Fenjiun stared at Su Yang and said with a playful smile, such strength is not weak, but it's a pity that you are destined to accompany me in the 100 sex competition and cannot win. Ximen Fenjiun sneered and said, my previous inference was correct. You have known Su Yang's identity for a long time, but you deliberately concealed it and talked back. He. Yes, the other person's attitude was very good, so Su Yang nodded. Su Yang's eyes suddenly lit up and he asked, you are the one who deduced the secrets and concluded that after the 100 sex martial arts competition this year, the pattern of ancient martial arts will change. However, he seemed to have calculated that the descendants of the Su family would come to Wudane Mountain to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition, so before leaving, he left a letter, specifically stating that it must be signed by the descendants of the Su family. Ximen Fenjiun said coldly, haha, you finally couldn't help it, right? It seems that you still cherish this grandson in your heart. Ximen Fenjiun's eyes swept over Qianshan Snow, Stonehahen, and Wankong Gaiun one by one, and finally looked at Ali. Humph, whatever you say. As for the others, they did not express their opinions. Abbot Yuantong of Bodhi Mountain simply closed his eyes and chanted sutras, pretending not to know the situation at the scene. After a pause of perhaps a few seconds, Wankong Gaiun, the master of Wuxinji sect, stood up. Shihahan. Haha, Shihahan, you don't mean what you say. No. Shihahan said disdainfully, I don't care about Su Yang's life or death, but no one is allowed to disrupt the 100 sex martial arts competition. After it's over, if you cut him into pieces, I will never stop him. Now he is an old man, traveling around the world, and he doesn't know where he is. Wankong Gaiun smiled softly and said, brother, she is right. The grudges between you and the Su family should be settled after the 100 sex martial arts competition. During the 100 sex martial arts competition, you are not allowed to kill him. Seeing this, Qian Shangxiu and Shi Hehan also sat down. But let me introduce myself. I am the sect leader of Wu Tianji sect, and my name is Wan Kongyun. Wan Kongyun said with a smile. P.S. There will be a party tomorrow. Please wait for 2 days. I will definitely resume the third update. Su Yang met Ximan Fenjian's gaze and smiled provocatively. Not only do I want to win this 100 sex martial arts competition, but if I have a chance, I will kill all the contestants from your Ximan family in the ring. What Ximan the dragon roars, the tiger roars at the west gate, I want them to die without their bodies intact. Brother Fenjian. After Shi Hehan stood up, he did not sit down. His intention was obvious, to protect Su Yang. You fart. Wan Kongyun invited with a smile on his face. Master Su, this competition is over. I wonder if you have time to come with me to the Wuodane secret pavilion. At this time, Shi Hehan also stood up and said in a deep voice, don't even think about killing Su Yang today. Wan Kongyun looked at Su Yang, smiled softly and said, hello, Mr. Su. Wan Kongyun shook his head and said, Mr. Su, the person who made this budget was the former head of the Tianji sect and my master. Ximan Fenjian, don't speak so absolutely. Master. Su Yang, you are lucky to have saved your life. You just withstood the attacks of those contestants without any damage. You must have reached the 9th level of Qi training like your brother Wang Fuegui. Young man, you are so unruly. After discussing the pros and cons of rights, Ximan Fenjian smiled and said, well, we will resolve it after the game. Wuodane must give it face. Ximan Fenjian shook his head and smiled, then sat on his seat and said no more. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 504. The Old Master. A letter left to the descendants of the Su family. This old sect master is really not a simple person. He saved my grandfather and guided Jufeng Mountain. Many things have his shadow. It can be said that he is like an invisible big hand, controlling everything. Su Yang secretly analyzed, what is his intention in doing all this, and for what purpose? From the current point of view, everything the old sect leader has done is beneficial to me and the Su family. Could it be that my great-grandfather Su Wuzi asked him to do this? Su Yang was puzzled. After a moment, his eyes fell on Wan Kongyun, and he nodded and said, the sect master invites you. I naturally have time, so I can trouble you to lead the way, senior. Okay. Wan Kongyun stroked his beard and let out a hearty laugh. Then he looked around at the big shots and smiled softly, everyone, I have to deal with some private matters, so I won't accompany you. I'll trouble you all to maintain order in the upcoming competition. I'll take the first step. Master Wang, don't worry, we are here. Qian Shan Shui smiled. Good. Zhang Tianli glanced at Ximan Fenjian, with a threatening tone in his voice, and said coldly, as long as I am here, no one can disrupt the situation. Haha, okay, just leave it to a few of you. Wan Kongyun nodded, then jumped up and slowly landed in front of Su Yang. Master Su, please come with me. Wan Kongyun smiled at Su Yang and then led the way. Su Yang did not follow immediately, but came to Su Yu. Dad, what do you want with that beautiful sister's sword accessories? At this time, Su Yu asked curiously, looking at Su Yang with her big eyes. Su Yang asked doubtfully, Yu, how do you know I want that spire? Hey, I guessed it. Su Yu smiled weirdly and said, Dad, Yu has been looking at you. Your eyes lit up when you saw that pointy accessory, so you deliberately approached that beautiful sister named Zhao's Hiruo. Haha, Yo-Yo is so smart. Su Yang rubbed his daughter's little head and said truthfully, Dad has an incomplete little tower on his body. That pointed thing is the top of the tower. Dad needs it so that he can form a complete little tower. It turns out Dad is asking for a jigsaw puzzle. Suyuyo suddenly realized it, then seemed to think of something, and said, "Dad, my great-grandfather has a treasure. It seems to be an incomplete small tower. It looks like it is on the 4th or 5th floor." Su Yang didn't care and smiled softly, "Dad's little tower is quite special. It is definitely different from your great-grandfather's." "Not necessarily." Suyuyo said seriously, "My great-grandfather's baby is very powerful. It's because of that thing that he can hold down the other 8 peaks of Jufeng Mountain. Everyone is afraid of him. Dad, can you take out your little tower and show it to me?" Suyuyo continued, "I have seen my great treasure. I know what it looks like. I can tell it at a glance whether it is the same thing or not." "Haha, okay." Su Yang knew that his daughter wanted to help him, so he released the void tower with a thought. But Su Yang hid the aura of the void tower to avoid making too much noise and arousing the covetousness of others. Same pattern. At this moment, Su Yuyo looked at the void tower in Su Yang's hand and said firmly, "Dad, the pattern on your little tower is almost exactly the same as the pattern on the great-grandpa's treasure. Yours is only on the 3rd level. You can tell from the lines that Grandpa's great treasure should be on the 4th level as expected," Su Yuyo said with certainty. "That's it?" Su Yang suddenly smiled. Unexpectedly, today he not only got the top of the tower, but also learned the whereabouts of the 4th floor of the Void Tower. It was really a worthwhile trip. "Dad, let me tell you a secret." After a conversation, Su Yang took Ali, followed Wan Konggyun, and disappeared from everyone's sight. Suzeng. But no matter what, Zhang Tianli stood up, and Su Yang naturally had a good impression of the Zhang family. Plus, "Young Master Su, don't worry, we are here at this time." Wang Fugui came over. Although Zhang Tianli and Ximen Fenjian were against each other, it was not for himself, but for Zhang Magu's sister who died tragically. Su Yuyo smiled strangely and said, "Dad, if you want it, I can help you grab it. Su Xing can't beat me, but I am very powerful." "Backpack." Su Yang rubbed his daughter's long hair, and then ordered, "Ali, you stay here to protect Yuyo. I'll go and see what the old sect master wrote in the letter. If you find an opportunity, you must steal it for him and make up the 4th floor of the Void Tower." Zhang Magu followed Wang Fugui and said excitedly and sincerely, "I didn't expect you to be a descendant of Senior Suwazi. The person I admire the most since I was a child is Senior Suwazi." "No." Su Yang thought about it and felt that what Ali said made sense, so he nodded. At this moment, Su Yuyo whispered, "A few days ago, when Su Xing ran away from home, he stole Grandpa's valuable treasure." Su Yang nodded obediently, his eyes curved into a crescent shape, and smiled, "By the way, Dad, I will give you a surprise when you come back." "Hee hee, now it's time for Su Xing to cry again." Su Yuyo smiled sweetly. It can be seen at a glance that Zhang Magu is an upright and above-board person who is worth making friends with, so Su Yang greeted him with a smile. When Ximen Fenjian was about to take action against him, Zhang Tianli followed closely and stepped in to stop him. "No, I used the wrong word. How can a matter between father and son be called a robbery?" Su Yang changed his words in a hurry. He saw everything that happened on the high seat just now, and also heard the conversation between Ximen Fenjian and the burly old man. No wonder this guy attaches so much importance to his backpack. It turns out there is a valuable treasure in it. As for the identity of the burly old man, Su Yang knew from the conversation that he should be Zhang Magu's grandfather. "Okay, Yuyo, wait for me here for a while. Dad has something to do at Wudaing's secret pavilion at this time," Su Yang said with a smile. "Young Master Su." "Okay, Daddy, come back as soon as possible to see what the surprise you talked about all morning is." Su Yang first put away the Void Tower, then smiled and said, "Yuyo, don't worry about this matter. Girls should be quiet. Just leave things like robbing things to me." "Haha, Brother Magoo, when I come back, we will have a drink together at noon. We will not come back until we are drunk. Su Yang also admired Zhang Magoo very much. Now I actually have the opportunity to meet the descendants of Senior Su Wazi. Young Master Su, I am determined to be your friend. Yeah. Now, the fourth floor of the small tower is in the backpack Suzing carries. Master, there are many crises in Wudang, and your identity has been exposed again. Just in case, I will accompany you. And, well, that's okay too. Haha. Ali requested, as for Yu, there are so many people here, and Mistress Qinshanx Yu is also here, so there won't be any danger. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 505. 9-story glazed tower. At this moment, on the high seat, Ximen Fenjian watched Su Yang leave with a strange color in his eyes. He used to be Su Wuji's most trusted subordinate, so he naturally knew about the existence of the 9-story glazed tower. He even knew that the 9-story glazed tower could suppress evil spirits and thus ignore the rules of heaven and earth. At first, when Su Wuji passed through the nascent Soul Thunder tribulation, he left behind a 9-story glazed tower, and Ximen Fenjian also knew about this. More than 100 years ago, Su Wuji disappeared after surviving the tribulation and did not appear for a long time. Some people speculated that Su Wuji failed to survive the tribulation and was dead, but because there was no body, this could not be confirmed. But Ximen Fenjian knew that Su Wuji would never appear again. Because he concluded that Su Wuji had not succeeded in overcoming the tribulation, otherwise he would definitely show up, perhaps go to Kunlun Mountain and practice with the energy stones collected previously. But Su Wuji didn't show up, so the tribulation must have failed. However, the tribulation failed and there was no 9-story glazed tower, so Su Wuji only had two endings. 1. He was seriously injured and died from a thunderstorm, and his body was even turned into dregs. 2. Su Wuji failed to overcome the tribulation, but he did not die. He was plagued by ominous things, and finally left the earth on the ancient road in the starry sky. In any case, there is no way Su Wuji will show up again. That's why Ximen Fenjian dared to collude with outsiders, destroy the Su family, and occupy Kunlun Mountain himself. Master Ximen. At this time, Abbot Yuantong, who was sitting not far away, noticed something strange about Ximen Fenjian, clasped his hands together and said, "Do you also want what Su Yang, the benefactor, gave you just now?" Abbot Yuantong, how can you see that? Ximen Fenjian did not admit it and smiled softly. Amitabha. Abbot Yuantong recited the Buddha's name and said, "People have 7 emotions and 6 desires. The poor monk is good at observing people's hearts and will naturally notice them. Master Ximen, you have always been calm, and few things can make your heart fluctuate, but just now, there was something strange in your eyes." Several antique-level figures at the scene all looked at Ximen Fenjian at this moment. Master is really observant. Ximen Fenjian smiled softly and stopped refuting, but he didn't say any more and didn't intend to continue this topic. Master Ximen, should you give up your true energy and enter the cultivation system? Suddenly, Abbot Yuantong said. The surrounding dignitaries showed a hint of surprise, and they all looked at Ximen Fenjian expectantly, wanting to know Ximen Fenjian's answer. Abbot Yuantong, how do you say this? Ximen Fenjian's expression moved, but he pretended to be calm and asked. Amitabha. Abbot Yuantong continued, the poor monk once had the honor to sit with Su Wuji and discuss the Tao. He didn't hide anything from the poor monk and told the poor monk his secret. Yuantong looked at Ximen Fenjian and continued, on today's earth, it is too difficult for cultivators. Once you step into the realm of elixir formation, you will be cursed, and your body will be inauspicious and miserable. But Su Wuji has a valuable treasure that can suppress evil spirits. Therefore, after he advances to the realm of pill formation, he can still stay on the earth, so he is invincible in the world. Under this starry sky, there are not only ancient martial arts forces, but also powerful cultivation sections. The 10 ancient clans that are hidden from the world are the cultivation sects, and all the disciples in the sect are cultivators. Abbot Yuantong spoke eloquently. Back then, Suwuji not only suppressed the ancient martial arts world, but also overthrew the 10 ancient clans, showing his invincibility. This all relied on a small tower, which he called the 9-story glazed tower. This little pagoda, the poor monk has seen it before. It is the thing in the hands of donor Su Yang just now. Abbot Yuantong showed a smile and guessed, Master Ximen, if the poor monk guessed correctly, you should have reached the peak of foundation building. But because you are afraid of the auspiciousness, you have not made any breakthroughs yet, so now you are very eager to get the 9-story glazed tower to suppress the auspiciousness, so that you can safely enter the realm of pill formation, so that you can be invincible in the world. Abbot Yuantong stared at Ximen Fenjiun and said, Master of the Ximen family, yes or no? The pinnacle of foundation building. I didn't expect that Ximen Fenjiun would have been exposed to cultivation for a long time. No wonder his appearance is ageless. He is Suwuji's most trusted subordinate. Suwuji regards him as his successor. It is not surprising that he knows the cultivation techniques. Since Ximen Fenjiun has learned the cultivation technique, why did he encourage the major sects to destroy the Kunlun Su family, do such an ungrateful thing, and bear eternal infamy? But when he saw the content of the letter, he was dumbfounded and almost collapsed. There is an attic here, which is the Wuodane secret pavilion, which is the highest place in Wuodane mountain. Several big shots present immediately started talking, and they all stayed away from Ximen Fenjiun. Wang Kongyun added, however, Mr. Su is a guest from afar, and the 100 Sects martial arts competition is going on, so these rules are waived. I won't disturb Mr. Su anymore. An old Taoist priest who can predict the future has spanned decades and left himself a letter. The content in it must be useful to him. Abbot Yuantong. Master, please don't get angry. Being angry is not good for your health. It can cause endocrine disorders and menstrual disorders. When the time comes. The philanthropic master thanked him first, then gritted his teeth and said angrily, Damn Su Yang, you dare to take advantage of Mount Ime. I will definitely settle this account with you. So, Su Yang slowly opened the envelope with excitement and solemnity. After leaving some words, Wang Kongyun exited the secret pavilion. Abbot Yuantong smiled and said, that pointed object is, not surprisingly, the spire of the 9-story glazed pagoda. Now, because this kind of person is so ambitious that there is no guarantee that he will not reach out to the famous mountain where they are. Thank you, Abbot Yuantong, for clarifying my doubts. If you are not a poisonous person, you are not a husband. Ximen Fenjiun is cruel enough. At this moment. The two of them walked in, and soon Wang Kongyun handed Su Yang an envelope and said solemnly, Master Su, I have kept this letter for decades. My ancestor has told me that only descendants of the Su family can read it. Go out first. Hello, I am Wang Yangming. In fact, I am not dead. I am in urgent need of some money to get out of trouble. As long as you transfer 50 million to my card, I will make a comeback in the future and I will guarantee you a lifetime of prosperity. Below is my card number and WeChat ID. After completing the transfer, please add me on WeChat and we will contact you via WeChat. The philanthropist was so angry that she knew she couldn't help Qian Shangxiu, so she looked away. Letter content. Qian Shangxiu, you, Ximen Fenjiun chuckled twice, without any explanation, and then closed his eyes to recharge his batteries. Even the old antique who had cooperated with him in the siege of the Kunlun Su family was wary of Ximen Fenjiun. Su Yang followed Wang Kongyun to the top of Wuodane mountain. Su Yang was the only one left in the secret cabinet. He was holding a yellowed envelope in his right hand, and his heart was filled with excitement and curiosity. Seeing this, Qian Shangxiu next to him smiled to comfort Master Charity Master, but as he was talking, he remembered something and changed his words. Look at me, I almost forgot that Master Charity Master must have gone through menopause due to endocrine disorders at her age. It doesn't matter. At this time, the philanthropist beside him couldn't help but asked, are you sure that what Su Yang just took out is the 9-story glazed tower? He. The reason why he made a bet with Zhao Ziruo, the benefactor of your noble sect, must be because of the accessories on the lotus sword. According to the rules, before viewing the letter, you should burn incense, bathe, and fast for 7 days to show respect. It must be for Suwuji's treasure. Didn't you hear what Abbot Yuan Tong said? This 9-story glazed tower can suppress evil spirits. Ximen Fenjiun also wants to be like Suwuji, who can set foot on the pill without leaving the earth and be invincible in the world. Abbot Yuan Tong nodded and said, although the small pagoda in the hands of Su Yang's benefactor only has 3 floors, the poor monk can be sure that it must be part of the 9-story glazed pagoda. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 506. 50 million? A comeback? A lifetime of glory? Su Yang's face suddenly darkened, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Damn it! What the hell, returned Wudane Wang Yangming, I really want to give you 2 earwax. In what age is it now? The national anti-fraud awareness is so strong, and everyone has downloaded the national anti-fraud app. Who can be deceived by such a rubbish scam? Wudane Wang Yangming, why don't you say that you are Qin Shi Wang, who will rule the world and divide half of my kingdom? Sir, bank card and WeChat ID. Could it be that Wudane is short of money, so this sect leader Wan Konggyun deliberately set a trap for me to defraud me of money? Su Yang couldn't help but complain. At the same time, he locked his eyes on the letter in his hand and looked at it carefully. Judging from the appearance of this letter, it looks very old, but it seems that it has been baptized for decades. Besides, no matter how bad Wudane is, it is still the top force in the ancient martial arts world. Outside just now, Ximen Fenjiun was quite afraid of Wan Konggyun. As long as Wudane said that he couldn't get it for any amount of money, he would definitely not use such despicable means to defraud money. In this way, the content of this letter is true. The old sect leader who once deduced the secret of heaven, named Wang Yangming, is now in trouble and needs 50 million to get out of trouble. Interesting. Old sect leader Wang Yangming had no idea of his current predicament even decades ago, so he left a letter and asked someone to transfer the money to him. Su Yang's eyes showed strong doubts, and he murmured to himself, but why did he leave the letter to me? If he really needs money, wouldn't it be better to let Wan Konggyun open the letter? Interesting. This is so interesting. I want to see what he wants to talk to me about on WeChat. Thinking of this, Su Yang smiled softly, and then took out his mobile phone from the storage ring. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang searched for Wang Yangming's WeChat ID based on the number above. Damn it, 24K is handsome? This name is a bit unconventional. He is a proper young man in society. Su Yang was speechless, and complained with a dark face, also, Master, you are a Taoist priest, and using such a sexy picture of a beautiful woman as your avatar is sexy enough, but isn't it inappropriate? After complaining for a while, Su Yang clicked to add to the address book, and deliberately did not note his identity. Can't the other party deduce the secret of heaven? Let him deduce it, just to test this Wang Yangming. After waiting for 2 minutes, Su Yang received the notification. The other party refused to add it. The reason was, Mr. Su, pay first. Damn it! Su Yang cursed and almost ran away in anger, but decided to do as Wang Yangming said. However, he didn't have that much money in his card, so he called Zhang's Honggaiu and reported Wang Yangming's card number to Zhang's Honggaiu. Naturally, Zhang's Honggaiu did not dare to neglect Su Yang's order, and hurriedly arranged for people from Yaoang Palace to transfer 50 million to Wang Yangming through electronic transfer. After doing all this, Zhang's Honggaiu sent a text message to Su Yang, telling Su Yang that it was done. After Su Yang simply replied to Zhang's Honggaiu, he added Wang Yangming's WeChat account again. This time, the friend request was finally approved. Later, Wang Yangming sent a WeChat message, "Mr. Su Yang, thank you for your 50 million. I will keep it in my heart." Seeing this, Su Yang replied, "24K pure handsome? Are you really Wang Yangming?" Wang Yangming, "Yes, it is Pandeo." Su Yang, "You are a Taoist priest. Logically speaking, shouldn't you be called Taoist and natural? Even if you call me flowers blooming and wealth, you can still understand. What do you mean by your 24K pure handsomeness?" Wang Yangming, "On the surface, Pandeo is really handsome. He has a great appearance. He has never lost in terms of appearance." Su Yang, "What a big trough." Originally, in Su Yang's mind, the old Wudang sect leader must be a serious and upright old Taoist priest no matter what. "Master Su, please don't get angry. I am very clear about all of this, the causes and consequences. No, no. However, it is inconvenient to talk on the mobile phone. When Pandeo is out of trouble, I will definitely come to you as soon as possible to help you solve your doubts," Wang Yangming said. Su Yang paused and then chose to answer. "That person is?" Wang Yangming paused for a moment, and then asked, "You should already know about the mysterious disappearance of the pre-Qin Qi practitioners and the ominous nature of the earth, right?" Su Yang responded, "Thousands of years ago, several foreign immortal emperors joined forces to change the rules of heaven and earth, making the earth's cultivators unlucky, forcing the pre-Qin Qi practitioners to embark on the ancient road in the starry sky and leave the earth." Master Su. "But Mr. Su, there are some things you may not know. In fact, you are from Earth," Wang Yangming said seriously. "About 100 years ago, why did Suwuji leave the Void Tower behind and use his own strength to forcefully try to break through to the nascent soul realm despite the ominous oppression?" Wang Yangming nodded, and then said, "But there is one thing you must not know now. It's simple, because someone asked Suwuji to do it." Wang Yangming paused for a few seconds, and then said in an astonishing voice, "You are Mr. Su. Master Su, thank you again for your 50 million, Pandeo accepted it?" "Huh," Su Yang frowned and said, "Do you know my origin?" But he never expected that Wang Yangming would be so shameless. "Good. Have heard a little bit." "Nonsense." Su Yang said, "My great-great-grandfather firmly believes that man can conquer heaven. He wants to fight with heaven, so he challenges the way of heaven and goes through the nascent soul thunder tribulation." "Huh? What special reason?" Su Yang was puzzled. Su Yang retorted, "Since you can deduce the secret of heaven and consider that I come from outside the territory, you must know that I am not Su Yang, I am just inhabiting this body. Later, there were immortal emperors from outside the realm, who held the gate of time and space, and took away the powerful monks from the earth one by one. At this point, the earth's cultivation declined, and the ancient martial arts system was derived," Su Yang said in a clear tone. "Haha, I didn't expect the old sect master's voice to be so young," Su Yang chuckled softly. "I'm afraid that even if Su Yang sacrificed the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion and hit it with all his strength, he wouldn't be able to hurt Wang Yangming's face because he was too thick." Dong dong dong. Just when Su Yang didn't know what to say, Wang Yangming suddenly sent a voice call request. As soon as the call was connected, a young voice came from the phone, "Pandeo knows that you are full of doubts about your great-grandfather Suwuji. Fart, Suwuji is indeed determined, but he is not stupid. If there is no special reason, why would he take such a risk? Wang Yangming denied. Wang Yangming shook his head and said in denial, Master Su, you are Su Yang, and Su Yang is you. No matter before or now, Su Yang is always Su Yang. Who? Su Yang asked. That's natural. The poor Taoist is only over 500 years old. Compared with Mr. Su, you are not even as good as a child, Wang Yangming said with some profound meaning. What do you mean? Su Yang frowned. Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, you come from outside the territory, and you are a big shot with powerful means. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 507. Buzz. Hearing this, Su Yang felt as if he was struck by lightning, with deep doubts in his eyes. Old master, are you kidding me? Su Yang frowned and said, I have only been on earth for a month or two, and I asked my great-grandfather to go through the tribulation. No, no, no. Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, Mr. Su, you came to earth more than 100 years ago. At that time, you were still the ultimate immortal emperor, not inferior to the 3 great immortal emperors outside the territory. Since Pandeo said what he said, it must be true. It was you who asked Suwuji to take the risk and escape the disaster. This cannot be false, Wang Yangming said seriously. I came to earth more than 100 years ago. Su Yang's frown deepened and he asked doubtfully, even if what you said is true, why did I do this? This. Wang Yangming pretended to be silent and said, it's not convenient to speak now. Just wait for a few days and I will tell you everything. Good. Su Yang nodded in agreement, and then said coldly, if you can't tell me why, don't blame me for being rude. Wang Yangming stopped mid-sentence, and the content of the conversation made Su Yang very dissatisfied, so his voice became colder. Haha, Mr. Su, I will definitely explain it clearly, Wang Yangming smiled. It better be so. Su Yang threatened with an evil look on his face, and then asked, tell me, is my great-grandfather Su Wuzi dead or alive now? He's still alive. Wang Yangming did not hide anything and said, Su Wuji is admirable. He has walked a supreme path. Even you at the time were full of praise and admiration. As for Su Wuzi's whereabouts, it's very strange. I can't deduce it, but he must still be on earth. Wang Yangming answered first and then said, Mr. Su, I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to wash my mother-in-law's underwear. Su Yang was stunned. Weren't we talking about business? Why did they suddenly talk about washing underwear, or giving it to the mother-in-law? Hey, poor Taoist people have a hard life. Mr. Su, you don't know something. Nowadays, poor Taoist people are no better than a dog. They work as a son-in-law in other people's homes. They are ordered around all day long and they can't even put food on the table. You have to squat on the ground and hold the bowl. Before Su Yang could speak, Wang Yangming vomited his bitterness and said aggrievedly, my wife slaps me at every turn, my mother-in-law slaps me loudly when she is dissatisfied, and my wife's grandma also dislikes me and slaps me often. My mouth is smashed now. Su Yang paused and said in disbelief, old sect master, are you kidding me? Don't call me old sect master. I am also a young man in my 20s now. We are brothers. Wang Yangming smiled bitterly and said, I am really miserable, and I didn't sell my misery to you. This is impossible. Su Yang firmly didn't believe it. You can live for such a long time and know how to deduce the secrets. How could you be so depressed that you become a son-in-law in someone else's house? Damn it, whose son-in-law you are going to be, doesn't that person have a lot of background, right? Bullshit, it's just a small family with assets that have just exceeded 100 million. The strongest person in the family is only in the Huajin realm and is not popular at all, Wang Yangming responded. Well? Su Yang asked doubtfully, then why did you become a door-to-door son-in-law? Your brain is twitching. Hey, It's a long story. Um. Wang Yangming recalled, we have been together for more than 20 years. He has become very old, but I have always maintained the appearance of 50 or 60 years old. There, I made an old friend named Xiao. Although he was an ordinary person, his calligraphy was excellent. I made friends with him through books and formed a deep friendship. After ending the call, Su Yang suddenly became interested and strode to the southwest corner. After searching for a moment, he saw a pure black button. How could you lose? Could it be that you, an ordinary person, can't count? Su Yang looked puzzled. But who knows, the next moment, a terrifying force will appear, which makes people feel palpitated, and quickly envelops the secret pavilion, seeming to seal the secret pavilion. Damn it, Mr. Su, you're not being honest at all when you threaten me. At the end of the sentence, Wang Yangming warned, by the way, Mr. Su, you must keep it a secret for me. No one knows about my marriage and humiliation except you. This is too shameless, so please keep it a secret. Yes. I almost forgot, there is one more thing. I left a gift for you in the Wudang secret pavilion. You press the switch in the southwest corner. My friend was very surprised. After learning that I could tell fortunes, he asked me to calculate how long he could live. But then I thought about it, I had my own plan. Maybe this is God's plan for me. Having said this, Wang Yangming sighed deeply. Gift. Now, there are still 2 days before the 5-year appointment. Mr. Su, wait for me for 2 days. Pandeo will be out of trouble in 2 days. I will look for you then. Not good. He was very curious and asked me why. Of course I didn't hide it. I told him my identity and restored my youthful appearance on the spot. Wang Yangming nodded and said in a complicated tone, I lost, completely. Wang Yangming continued, he is just an ordinary person, relatively easy to calculate. I can tell at a glance that he still has 3 years to live. Wang Yangming continued, at that time, I had reached the peak of foundation building, and my body could rejuvenate. However, I was not used to looking young, so I never changed. In order to convince him, I changed into a young look. Wang Yangming sighed and said, I left a letter back then, and after leaving Wudang, I traveled around the world. It was so cool. Wang Yangming continued, as long as I fulfill my old friend's last wish, my own knot will be settled, and Wang Yangming will return to the world without missing a beat. In the end, you lost, Su Yang asked. But what he doesn't know is that I have always left nothing behind. This is the belief in my heart. Once I make a mistake, my strength will be banned and reduced to an ordinary person. Only by opening my heart can I return to the top. Under normal circumstances, my calculation was correct, but I never expected that after I promised my friend, he would commit suicide the next day. Wang Yangming smiled bitterly and said, in order for me to take care of the Xiao family and connect with the Xiao family, he chose to commit suicide. He wanted to tie the lifeline of the Xiao family to me. Wang Yangming couldn't help complaining, but it was just a casual comment, and then said, Mr. Su, I really don't want to talk anymore, I'm going to wash my underwear. Wang Yangming sighed again and said, before I left Wudang, I had already calculated that I would be in disaster in the future, but I never expected that the disaster would be so outrageous. How could I, a cultivator, get married and have children? A few years later, I came to Angzi City to travel around the world and experience urban life. Su Yang's expression changed greatly, and he wanted to use Zheji Tianya to escape, but found that under this power, he could not mobilize the spiritual energy in his body. After leaving a few words, Wang Yangming hung up. He didn't hesitate at all, and pressed it directly with excitement. Su Yang nodded and said with a playful smile, don't worry, as long as you help me clarify my doubts, I won't talk nonsense, otherwise it will be difficult to talk about it. Mr. Su, I hope you can get the gift smoothly, haha, let's talk another day. But he didn't believe it, and insisted on making a bet with me, saying that if I couldn't live for 3 years, even if if I lost, I had to agree to a condition, marry into the Xiao family, marry his great-granddaughter, and at least stay in the Xiao family. 5 years. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 508. To use so far, you need spiritual energy, but now, Su Yang can't use even a shred of spiritual energy. Damn it, Wang Yangming, you dare to trick me. Su Yang's heart tightened and his face looked very ugly. Seeing that the light curtain formed by the terrifying energy was about to completely envelop the secret pavilion, Su Yang could only sit back and wait for death. Owner. At this moment, Ali flashed into the secret pavilion before the light curtain closed, and appeared in front of Su Yang, wanting to take Su Yang out. Unfortunately, when she came in, the light curtain had already closed, completely covering the entire secret pavilion. Master, don't be afraid, I'll break this light curtain and take you out. Ari narrowed his eyes slightly and immediately shot out a terrifying spiritual energy. Boom! A huge force hit the light curtain, and there was a sound, but the light curtain was not damaged at all. Ali refused to admit defeat, and instead became serious. He suddenly jumped into the air and hit the light screen with his body. But she was like hitting cotton, and the next moment her body was bounced off, without even a crack in the light curtain. Hateful! Ari became angry, his eyes glowed with two red lights, and his whole body was enveloped in white light. When the white light dissipated, Ari had transformed into his true form, a nine-tailed fox with shiny and supple hair, appearing in the secret pavilion. This is Ari's most powerful state. Immediately afterwards, Ali didn't hesitate at all, and jumped towards the light curtain above, but the result was still the same as before, in vain. Puff! Ari's body fell heavily to the ground, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Ali, are you okay? At this time, Su Yang stepped forward, held the nine-tailed fox in his arms, and asked with concern. I'm fine. Ari shook his head and blamed himself. I'm sorry master, Ari is useless and did not break through the barrier. Silly girl, it's not your fault. Su Yang gently wiped away the blood stains on the corner of Ali's mouth, smiled softly and said, okay, you can take a rest first and leave it to me. Ali nodded obediently, then returned to his human form and stood beside Su Yang. At this time, Su Yang released the immortal emperor consciousness, looked around at the light curtain, and said seriously, if I read correctly, someone has set up a powerful formation in the secret pavilion. Judging from the solidity of the light curtain, I am afraid that the monks in the alchemy stage, it may not be possible to break it by force. In this case, there is no need to try the Void Tower and the key to the East Mansion. With my current strength, even if I control these two treasures, it is impossible to break this formation. Su Yang analyzed seriously, however, if you can find the formation I and control this formation, you can naturally come and go freely. Haha, what a coincidence. In my last life, I was proficient in formations and knew all the formations well. It is not difficult for me to master this formation. It just takes some time. Su Yang first smiled, then frowned, and said, but, what does Wang Yangming mean by this, and why did he set a trap for me? Su Yang's face was full of doubts, and then he looked around again and carefully observed the formation. The secret pavilion's formation is indeed extraordinary, and its complexity is at the top even in the Xiantian immortal domain. Once the formation is opened, it is equivalent to a self-contained space. The people inside the formation are isolated from the world and cannot perceive everything outside. Even if the secret cabinet is destroyed, the outside will not be able to detect it. Of course, people outside cannot understand the situation in the secret chamber, and no big movement can alarm the outside world. The most important thing is that after the formation is activated, the spiritual energy in the body of the people within the formation will be blocked in the danshan, and they will instantly become ordinary people. Ari is a master at the pinnacle of foundation building, but he can only barely shoot out a ball of spiritual energy, and he can no longer mobilize it after that. Spirit locking formation. Su Yang recognized the formation, frowned slightly and said, "Isn't this formation created by a formation master from the Xiantian immortal domain? How could anyone on earth know how to lock the spirit formation, huh? No, this is not a simple lock. Spiritual formation." Suddenly, Su Yang discovered something else. His eyes suddenly lit up, he stared around again, and finally came to a conclusion, with a look of shock on his face. Spirit locking formation, dark fire formation, weak water formation, earth mountain formation, golden spear formation, Kanaha formation, this is actually a 5 elements formation. Su Yang was extremely surprised and murmured, with the soul locking formation as the main focus and the entire Wuodang as the foundation, the 5 elements continuous formation was laid out. If you are in charge of the magic formation, it is equivalent to controlling everything in Wuodang. Within Wuodang, when the formation is activated, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, the power of the 5 elements emerges. Under the nascent soul, you can kill whoever you want. Within Wuodang, you can kill whoever you want. Everyone's life and death depend on just one thought. How many energy stones are needed for this? Who is the person who set up the formation? What a big deal. Su Yang's face was filled with horror. He never expected that such a huge chain formation could be created on Earth. This not only requires a large amount of spiritual energy, but also requires the formation skills of the person setting up the formation to reach a certain height. Even in Xiantian immortal realm, there are very few people who can arrange the 5 elements chain formation, let alone integrate into the soul locking formation and complement each other. If you are not a master of formations, you will never be able to arrange it. Wang Yangming introduced my origin. As he said just now, he knows that I was once an immortal emperor from outside the territory, and he must also know about my attainments in formations. These formations cannot trap me at all. As long as you give me time, I will definitely you can turn your back on the guest and become the master of the soul locking formation and the 5 elements chain formation. Su Yang guessed, he said before that he wanted to give me a gift. Is it possible that the serial formation is the gift he said? Whatever, don't give up on the good things that come to your door. If I control the formation, it will be equivalent to holding Wuodang's trump card. Su Yang raised a playful smile on his lips. At that time, the so-called old antiques outside will be lambs to be slaughtered in front of me. As long as I activate the formation, I will be the god of Wuodang. The soul-locking formation plus the 5 elements continuous formation is tantamount to a super powerful plug-in, and Su Yang will naturally not miss this opportunity. The soul-locking formation is okay, but the 5 elements chain formation is a bit troublesome. I'm afraid it won't be controllable for less than 20 hours. Su Yang smiled softly and said, in the first round, I gave the opportunity to advance to Zhao's Hiruo. Tomorrow is the resurrection match, so there should be enough time. Ari, I have found a way out, but it will take some time. Don't disturb me during this period. After leaving a few words, Su Yang sat cross-legged, closed his eyes slightly, and began to use his spiritual consciousness to decipher the magic circle. Ali stood aside, silently guarding Su Yang. At the same time, hundreds of sects competed in martial arts. The second round of competition is the second track, the 6th track, and the 10th track. Su Yang was on the 6th track. The competition was over. Zhao's Hiruo won and successfully entered the next round. As for the second track, the strongest competitor is Ximen Longjian from the Ximen family. Without exception, Ximen Longjian defeated all opponents and advanced to the next round. There is also a top player on the 10th track. He is a young monk and the most outstanding Buddhist disciple of Mount Bodhi, Wuji. The Buddha had no basis in the Dharma and was so profound that he didn't take any action at first, and no one dared to approach him. At the end of the race, counting Fozawuji, there were only 3 people left on the 10th track. The 2 men looked at each other, smiled bitterly, and finally admitted defeat. The Buddha has no foundation and can win without fighting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 509. It is worth mentioning that gay-free clothing has undergone significant changes. In the past 3 years, he had worn black leather clothes every day in order for Lan Miaoi to return to the secular world. But now, he has put on his cassock again, with a solemn appearance, like an enlightened monk, very sacred. At this point, the second round of competition is over. There are 12 tracks in total, and 6 tracks have now been tested. The people who advanced were Wudane Wanjai from the first track, Ximen Longjian on the second track, Wang Fugui from the 5th track, Ime Zhao's Hiruo on the 6th track, Taishan Stone Jushin in the 9th track. The Buddha in the 10th track has no foundation. Next, it's the turn of the contestants on the 3rd, 7th, and 11th tracks. It didn't take long for the contestants from the 3 tracks to board their respective arenas. Damn it, what's going on the 3rd track? Why is there a 4-year-old girl on it? This little girl is so cute. She's so pretty. She must have walked into the ring by mistake. The adults in her family don't care. Huh? Isn't this the daughter of the leader of Jufeng Mountain, Su Yuyu? What, Qian Shangxiu's daughter? Wait, Qian Shangxiu said earlier that Su Yang is the father of her child. If so, this little girl is Su Yang's daughter. The daughter of the remnant of the Su family actually entered the ring. What do you mean? What does she want to do? That's right. Su Yuyu signed up to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition and was assigned to the 3rd track. At this time, she had already entered the ring. Why hasn't Dad come yet? At this moment, Su Yuyu looked around, looking forward to Su Yang's appearance. She wanted her father to see her in the ring and give him a surprise. But when it was her turn to play the game, her father was not there, and Su Yuyu's cute little face showed a hint of disappointment. Yuyu, come on. Uncle Fugui will record your screen. When you see your father, you can show it to him. Wang Fugui in the audience held up his mobile phone and cheered Su Yuyu. Yeah. Su Yuyu was encouraged, clenched her fists and said firmly, Uncle Fugui, I will work hard and I won't lose my father's face. The contestants on the stage and the audience below the stage burst out laughing when they saw Su Yuyu's cute appearance, and did not take Su Yuyu seriously at all. At this time, on the high seat, Qian Shangxiu, take care of your daughter and get her out quickly. The arena is not a place for fun, Charity Master Tai said coldly. Qian Shangxiu had frustrated her earlier, and she was worried about how to respond, so naturally she would not miss this opportunity. Master Tai. Hearing this, Qian Shangxiu smiled softly and said, my daughter has signed up, why should she go down? This girl is only 4 years old. What kind of game is she playing? Isn't she causing trouble? The philanthropist said in a deep voice. Beizonghuivu has an upper limit on the age of contestants, but no lower limit. Qian Shangxiu said, what's wrong with the age of 4? Is there a rule that 4-year-old children cannot compete? You use strong words to make sense, but your fists and feet are blind in the ring. There will be times when you will regret it. The philanthropist said coldly, and then stopped asking about the matter. Several other big shots at the scene didn't say much. After all, Su Yuyu didn't break the rules. Everyone just regarded this as a small episode, no one paid much attention to it, and the game started soon. Among the contestants in the third track, Song Qingyang from Qingchen Mountain is quite famous. His boxing skills are unfathomable and he has defeated countless young talents who claim to be talented. Although his reputation is not as good as that of Liudan Wanjai, Buddha Zaiwaji, Ximen Lonjian, Taishan Shijushan and others, he should not be underestimated. As soon as Song Qingyang came on the stage, several contestants surrounded him. Haha, rabble. Song Qingyang was not afraid at all. After sneering, he raised his fists and started to fight in all directions, punching to the flesh and beating several contestants to defeat. As for Su Yuyu, no one paid attention to her, and no one took action against her. She was just a transparent person. After all, Su Yuyu comes from Jufeng Mountain, her mother is the alliance leader Jian Shangxiu, and her great-grandfather is the top master of the older generation, Millennium Killer. As for the Millennium Killing, he was a well-known protector and had a hot temper. Naturally, the contestants in the third track were not willing to provoke Su Yuyu. The most important thing is because Su Yuyu is a 4-year-old child. Even if he defeats Su Yuyu, not only will it be disgraceful, but he will also get the reputation of bullying children. Just like that, Su Yuyu stood in the corner of the ring with an innocent face, watching the fierce battle of other contestants. When she saw someone being beaten and vomiting blood, Su Yuyu would turn pale with fright, scream, and become helpless. This scene made the contestants and the audience burst into laughter. In addition to the third track, the 7th and 11th tracks are also in full swing. Mr. Modeo in the 7th track was the first to bear the brunt. His whole body was enveloped in black poisonous gas, and no one dared to approach him. In the middle arena, almost all the contestants' faces changed drastically, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. The martial arts in the depths of the clouds and mist are so weird and vicious that these people are naturally afraid of them. Haha, I'll give you 10 seconds to either surrender or... Seeing this, Modeo's posture became even more arrogant. He looked around coldly and said the unfinished words, "Death." The 30 or 40 contestants on the ring all looked at each other, and after some struggle, they all chose to walk off the ring. They only signed up and went to the ring to go through the motions. They had no sense of participation at all, which caused everyone to make crazy complaints. Haha, it's interesting. He surrendered before the fight even started. He walked onto the ring and only stood there for a few seconds. Damn it, isn't that Chi Wei from Mangshan? He wants to lose his face. I remember that Mangshan specially chartered a plane for him. He checked in several tons just to salute. He mobilized troops and mobilized a large number of people, but he resigned like this. Taiwan. 10 years of work, 10 seconds on stage. Tons of salutes, brother, that's an exaggeration. It's true. I saw it and he almost moved the bed over. It's normal. People come to Wudan for tourism. Who travels without luggage? The martial arts bosses of these contestants who surrendered were very angry. Some bosses even said that these contestants would have to pay for the round-trip expenses out of their own pockets. Although everyone's ridicule made them unable to hold their heads up and was extremely embarrassed, they didn't want to lose their lives. Master Modeo's poisonous skills are too terrifying. Anyone who dares to attack them is seeking death, isn't he? But there really was one person who didn't surrender. This person is not very old, he looks to be only 14 or 15 years old, a young man. At this time, Modeo saw that there was only one opponent in the ring, and he was still a young man, so he frowned and said, I have seen the list, and I have an impression of you. Are you Lin Yuan, a small family from a small border town? Lin Yuan. The only young man left on the stage is the old poisonous creature deep in the clouds and mist, Lin Yuan. Speaking of which, Lin Yuan is Modeo's master, but he has returned to youth and has been away from the depths of the clouds for more than 10 years, so Mo naturally doesn't recognize him. I am Lin Yuan. At this time, Lin Yuan stood there, meeting Mo's gaze with a smile on his face. Haha, I miss you because you are young. I will give you one more chance. Surrender or die, Mo said coldly, not taking Lin Yuan seriously at all. Is it? Lin Yuan raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth, then took a step forward and said with a playful smile, I want to see how you kill me. As soon as he finished speaking, a thick black mist emerged around Lin Yuan, and its power was astonishingly powerful. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 510. On the stage. Lin Yuan, an old poisoner, released a powerful poisonous mist, and the scene was instantly shrouded in black mist, wrapping Lin Yuan in layers. This poisonous mist is heart-stopping and seems to be much more powerful than the black mist on Mo's body. You also practice poison skills. When Mo saw this, a look of surprise suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he frowned and said, No, your poison technique is somewhat similar to ours in deep cloud mist, but it is not exactly the same. Who are you? Faced with Mo's question, Lin Yuan sneered, You ask too many questions. More than 10 years have passed. Let me see if you have made any progress. Do you know me? Mo became even more confused and hurriedly asked, Who are you? Lin Yuan did not answer, but mobilized the poisonous mist around him to form a long black dragon, roaring towards the ink knife. Nowadays, when he gave up his true energy, it was equivalent to giving up the secret knowledge of reincarnation, and he could no longer compete with the real old antiques. In the past, Lao Duo's peak state was the land martial god, and he could be evenly matched with masters such as Shi Hehan, Wan Konggyun, Zhang Tianli, and Abbot Yuan Tong. If in a few more years, when his last reincarnation is successful, he will become extremely powerful and confident that he can crush ordinary land warriors. But Lao Duo couldn't bear the temptation of cultivation. He abolished the true energy in his body and embarked on cultivation. He is currently at the half-step foundation building realm. Lin Yuan was very clear about the fighting power of the ancient warriors. He understood that with his current strength, he could defeat the middle stage Shen Zone. If he activated the 100 poison flags and forcibly increased his strength, he might be invincible against the Shen Zone. However, he cannot be compared with the land martial gods, so he does not dare to reveal his identity, otherwise there is no guarantee that the land martial gods will not obliterate him. But Lin Yuan is not in a hurry. He carries the treasure of the 100 poison banner deep in the clouds and has taken half a step to build the foundation in a short time. He must be able to successfully build the foundation soon. At that time, the realm of land warriors will be nothing, they are just chickens and dogs. Originally, Lin Yuan planned to end the retreat after establishing the foundation, but the 100 Sects Martial Arts Conference was held instead. Moreover, he knew that the number one in this 100 Sect martial arts competition would obey the destiny and take charge of the entire ancient martial arts world. Therefore, Lin Yuan decided to leave the seclusion, determined to win the first place, but who knows, he met his most proud disciple in the first battle. There was no choice. In order to advance, Lin Yuan had no choice but to defeat Mo. At this moment, seeing the swooping black dragon, Mo's expression changed, and he hurriedly changed his hands, mobilizing Zhou Shen's poisonous mist to form a protective barrier, trying to block the black dragon. Boom! Soon, the black dragon mist hit the barrier condensed by the ink knife, making a muffled sound. Next moment, the black dragon collapsed, and the barrier in front of Mo also had cracks like spider webs. Yes, your strength has improved a lot. When Lin Yuan saw this, a playful smile appeared on his lips, but he did not speak. Instead, he let his voice sound in Mo's mind through soul transmission. You, who are you? Amodeo was panicked for a moment, and at the same time he looked at the young man in front of him with an ugly expression. The voice rang in my mind, what kind of method was this? It was so weird. In addition, the opponent's easy blow just now caused cracks in the barrier he had condensed, so this young man must be stronger than him. For a moment, Amodeo knew that he was losing, and he had no intention of fighting back. He just wanted to find out the identity of the other party. He has done research on all the great geniuses in the ancient martial arts world, and has never heard of any genius who is good at poisonous arts. He. Lin Yuan continued the soul transmission and said in a cold voice, "You bastard, I am your master, Zhu Jueze. Lao Poison has been in charge of the deep clouds for more than 100 years, but he doesn't like others calling him Lao Poison. So a long time ago, he gave himself an awesome name. Because Lao Poison's poisonous skills and methods are unique, he used Juju. I guess he is hiding his identity. In a small border town somewhere, there is such a genius. His poison skills are so unfathomable that even young Master Amodeo is willing to defeat him. In addition, many antique-level figures add a subtitle after their names to show their enigma, such as Danchunzi and Fenyangzi. If the disparity in strength is too great, there is no need to risk your life to hold on. Only a few people remember this name. People in the ancient martial arts world prefer to call him Lao Poison. Basically, Lao Poison will only call him Juju Zi when he introduces himself, or when everyone gives him face in public. Privately they call him Old Poison. The competition on the 7th track is over. Lin Yuan, who comes from a small border town, has successfully advanced. After saying that, Amodeo jumped off the ring without hesitation and left the scene without looking back. But in everyone's eyes, although there is a gap between Amodeo and this young genius Lin Yuan, they can still compete with each other. The audience in the audience was stunned. What's going on? Are all the contestants on the 7th track so temperamental, giving up at every turn? Lin Yuan, who was on the stage, had just arrived before the match, so he did not meet Su Yang. Complaints are complaints, and everyone can understand. After all, the poison technique is too incomprehensible, and people will die at every turn. After a pause for a few seconds, Amodeo rushed to Lin Yuan and clasped his fists and said, "Your Excellency's attainments in poisonous arts far exceed mine. I give up and will ask you for advice next time I have the opportunity. You don't have to say anything. I can't reveal my identity yet. You must also know that I am practicing the secret art of reincarnation as a master, and I have not yet reached its peak." For this disciple, Lao Tuwu admired him very much, because Amodeo was the most talented genius in the depths of the clouds for hundreds of years. Everyone was talking. Anyway. Zhu Jueze. Since he didn't want to be exposed, he called himself Lin Yuan. Now that his soul was transmitting the voice, the old poisonous man naturally mentioned his most proud name. The old poisonous man smiled softly and said, "With your strength, it is not a big problem to enter the top 10. Don't let outsiders look down on me, deep in the clouds. Okay, I will look for you tonight and talk to you all night long. Now you admit defeat and save your strength to fight in the rematch." When Amodeo heard this, he was immediately shocked and looked at the old poisonous man with doubts in his eyes. It is possible that there are too many dark horses in this year's 100 sex martial arts competition. There was Wang Fugui before, and now there is Lin Yuan. Could he be from the top 10 ancient martial arts? Although the top 10 ancient clans do not interfere in the affairs of the ancient martial arts world, but this time the number 1 in the 100 sex competition can take charge of the ancient martial arts world, there is no guarantee that the ancient martial arts will not be tempted. Don't forget, Su Yang, a descendant of the Su family, also hides his strength. Previously he withstood the attacks of so many geniuses and was unscathed. His strength may be similar to that of Wang Fugui. He is at the 9th level of Qi training. Hearing this, Mo Dao already believed Lin Yuan's words, and the doubts in his eyes gradually disappeared, replaced by excitement, and his eyes became moist. At this moment, hearing everyone's comments about Su Yang, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Therefore, the old poisonous man decided to add a son to his name, and he became Zhu Jueze. This boy is only a teenager, but he is so strong, it's incredible. For a time, many people were discussing the origin of Lin Yuan. Mo Dao nodded. He knew that the master did not want to reveal his identity, and even if there were thousands of words to say, it would be inconvenient to say them now. But therefore, Lao Tuwu didn't want to hurt Mo Dao, so he chose soul transmission. But Mo Dao did not do this. He probably had the same idea as Ximen Huxiao, planning to surrender to preserve his strength and then advance through the resurrection match. Lin Yuan secretly sent a message: "You don't have to doubt my identity. With my methods, it is not difficult to kill you. There is no need to fool you. Moreover, the treasure of the 100 poison flags deep in the clouds is on my body. I can feel a hint of the breath of the 100 poison flags." As for the name Lin Yuan, it was Chu Fuxian who gave him the name Lin Yuan when he was a book boy after his reincarnation.